session, right? I'm super duper excited to be in today's session as we are going to be learning new stuff in Power BI, all right? And again, the reason why I find today's session super exciting is because it's going to be tailored to the public health sector. So if you're excited, give me a thumbs up or type a yeah in the chat. Type a yeah in the chat if you're excited to be in today's session. All right, type a yeah in the chat. I want to see your reactions. Fantastic. Adeza, Akintola, fantastic. Richard, Angela, fantastic, fantastic. Blessing. All right, welcome to today's session. All right, I can see more reactions. CJ, I can see Misari, I can see Ogechi. Fantastic. It's very nice to have you in today's session. All right. So just before we, set the ball rolling, all right, I want to know where you're joining us from. That's the first thing I want to know about you. All right. Can we all hear me? Can we hear me?
Yes, Mohammed, you're loud and clear.
Fantastic, fantastic. So if you cannot hear me, you want to step out, all right, and rejoin so that you get your audio, all right? So as I was saying, I want to know where you're joining us from. Where are you joining us from? Okay, Richard is joining from Abuja, Nigeria. Blessing is joining from Yola. Misari is joining from Calabar. We have Lagos. Chinoye is joining from Poland. Fantastic, all right? Otongora, Kintola, fantastic. Adeza from the UK. Dauda from the UK. Chinomso from the UK. I have people from Abia State, Nigeria. Fantastic. I have people from Edmonton, Canada as well. Kaduna, Anambra, UK, China. Um, I have DC from Canada as well. So I even have people from Istanbul. Fantastic. So you can see we have a diverse array of people on call. So that's one of the things that make our sessions super exciting as well. And it's going to be an interactive session, all right? You're going to be learning a lot, okay? We're going to be using Power BI, and it's going to be tailored to a public health sector, okay? Another thing I would like to know about you guys, all right? If you've joined our session before, I want you to type a 1 in the chat. And if you're a new participant in one of our masterclass sessions like this one, type a new in the chat. Type new in the chat. If you've joined us before, type a 1 in the chat. Fantastic. Okay. So Techno Pouvoir is a new participant. Esther, welcome. So Zara, Lucky, Blessing, Dauda, Akim Bobola. Fantastic. We have a lot of new participants in today's session. All right. And, I want you to sit back and, enjoy today's session. Okay. So, but for the sake of those who are joining us for the first time, all right, I'll just, talk a bit about Analytics. Okay. Give me 1 second to put up my screen. So I'll tell you what Analytics stands for. You're joining us, newly. All right. So what does Analytics stand for? What do we stand for? Who are we here at Analytics? So once you can see my screen, let me know. Right. Once you can see my screen, just type a yes in the chat, and then we would go on. All right. Okay, fantastic, fantastic. All right. Just 1 second. Okay, great. Now, here at Analytics, for those of you who are new to Analytics, all right, Analytics is an edtech firm, and we are passionate about helping people of the Black community and Africans in general, get into the tech space. All right. Now, when you look at the tech ecosystem on a global front, what you notice is that you don't find a lot of Black people, you don't find a lot of Africans. Not that Africans don't work for, top organizations at the global front, all right? But when you get into the tech part, of these organizations, you just find a handful of Black people in there. All right. And we are here to change that narrative to help as many Africans and Black people get into the world of tech very easily. Even at that, the reason it's difficult for people of the Black community to get into the tech space, is simply because the entry barrier is very high. All right. And what does that mean? People don't know what kind of content or what kind of materials, what kind of platforms they need to engage with, to help their entry into tech seamless. All right. And just before I continue, I beg your pardon, guys. All right. For those of you for those of you who have not met me before, my name is Mohammed Suleiman. All right. I'm a senior data associate here at Analytics. Okay, I'm also a data analyst and a data scientist. I work as both a data analyst and a data scientist, and I have about half a decade of experience in the industry. All right, and today myself and Adeza, the founder of Analytics, which I'll be introducing shortly. All right, we'll be sharing our expertise with you today and our experience with you today. So you're going to be having a great time. All right. So back to where we were. So Analytics. Now, our services range from data. We help people get into several data data careers, all right, data career paths across data analytics, business analysis, data engineering, data science, financial analytics, as well as HR analytics, and many other career paths within the data ecosystem. All right, and just like I said, I was talking about the fact that it's very difficult for Black people usually to get into the tech space, and myself and some of your facilitators are, living testimonies of that particular, narrative where it was difficult for us to get into the world of tech. So because we've been able to spot that difficulty, all right, we're able to craft out analytics, okay, to actually make it easy for people, especially the Africans and people of the Black community, to get into tech. All right. And your facilitators, work for the best of the best organizations in the world. All right. From Coca-Cola to Google to Deloitte to KPMG, Sahara Groups, Apple, Microsoft, and so on and so forth. All right. So, and these facilitators will be sharing their experience, their, day-to-day activity with you in classrooms. All right. And Adesa will be talking more about, how the training program will be, and sharing, your, sharing a lot of other exciting details about analytics with you as we go on with the session. All right. And Adeza is the founder of Analytics. All right. He's a data analytics expert, with close to a decade of experience in the industry. All right. He has worked, as a data analyst, as a business performance expert. He has worked with Sahara Groups. Right. He has worked with the FITC, and he has trained close to 10,000 participants, to date. All right. So I'll be handing over to Adeza. All right. Adeza, welcome to today's session. It's very good to have you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for that fantastic introduction. And it's good to be here. And I can see some of you that have joined our session before. Ubong is saying it's good to be back. Absolutely. Good to have you join us today. And I love the diversity of the people we have in class from different regions. And we'll be looking at something very exciting within the public health space. And while we're looking at doing and analyzing data from the public health related area, we want to also understand the importance of doing that. So one of the questions I always get is, I want to get a job in the health sector, but I really haven't done anything within the space. How do I become a data analyst in the health sector? Or I've worked in the health sector for a couple of years. how does that translate to data analytics? And one of the easiest ways for you to get that going is on working on projects. Working on what? Projects. And that's what we always advise. You need to get projects. You need to work on projects to show that when you get into an interview and you're asked questions on how have you used data analytics to solve a health-related issue, you can then speak from a point of knowledge and a point of application, something you've done before. And that's the amazing, part of being a data analyst. That gives you the ability to work anywhere across the globe, and across different sectors as well. It transcends industries, transcends sectors, and you don't have to tie yourself to a particular area because you're a data analyst. All right. And I'm going to share my screen and we'll kick off with our session for today. Now, before I share the data sets, like I talked about the fact that we are working on health-related data. Okay. How do we ensure that we can get this data and get to work on this data ourselves? So the data we are working with today is from the Office of the National Statistics in the UK, and I'll share that with you. All right. So the ons.gov.uk, that's where you get the data from. It's alcohol-specific deaths. So deaths related to what? Alcohol. People died due to alcohol consumption. Okay, and that's what we want to analyze. Now, and you can see that it's from the Office of National Statistics in the UK. Now, you can also get data from our world in data. So I'm just going to show you some sites where you can get data from. Okay, just give me 1 second, please. I'll show you some sites where you can get data from. Our World in Data is another fantastic site where you can get, public health data related to economics, the workings of the economy, poverty, education. And when you go to ourworldindata.org, all you have to do is select a particular topic, okay? So browse on a topic, and then you'd see topics on different areas: population and demographic change, health. So if you go to health, for example, and click on health, you'd see different areas with regards to health: pollution, obesity, smoking, alcohol consumption, influenza, and so on and so forth, suicide. So you can come here as a budding analyst, get data related to a particular sector, a particular area, and do a lot of analysis. And you add that to your portfolio. So when you get that job, or when you get that interview with the NHS in the UK, or you get that job or interview opportunity with any organization within the health sector, you can talk about the things you've done. And this is what I've been able to analyze. And that's the focus of our session today. We got the data from the Office of National Statistics, and we are looking at the alcohol-specific deaths in the UK. Okay, we'll solve the problems together. And I want you to participate as I solve these problems and we get to find the answers, working together. You guys on the call, including myself, I'll be the one doing it on Power BI, but you'll be giving me suggestions and insights and telling us what you can see from the analysis we'll be carrying out. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll get right into it. Mohammed has introduced me already. For us at Tenalytics, our key focus is on helping people of the Black community to get into tech. That's who we are and what we've been doing for the last 3 years. And we've been successful to the level of helping over 1,000 people to transition from the classroom to getting their first jobs. Okay, and I'll be talking about my experience along the line and how you can also make that transition eventually. So let's get right into what we'll be doing today. So the first thing is we'll have a practical session using Power BI, and we want to tackle alcohol-related deaths. Okay, we're going to do the analysis. When we've done that, we'll come up with a recommendation or several recommendations based on the analysis we've done. Right? And then we'll talk about the skills that you need to learn. and how to land data analyst jobs across different regions. And I'll talk about the upcoming program we have on the 4th of November. And lastly, we'll share some success story. There's a fantastic lady who is coming around to share her story with us. Her name is Toyin Oluwatoyin. Oluwatoyin joined our program. She got a job with the NHS a few months ago, and she currently works with the NHS. So how did she do it? As a benefits analyst, learned data analytics, got a job just shortly after joining the program, currently works as a benefits analyst with the NHS here in the UK. I'm sure for those of you that have joined our session severally, you would have seen her picture on our slides. And she'll be coming here in the real person, Toyin, coming to share her story with us. But let's get right into it. And you don't need to have any experience to be here. Okay, if you are new, totally new, that's perfectly fine. If you haven't analyzed data before, that's also perfectly fine. Okay, we'd work on it together, we'd share ideas, would build, and you guys would also contribute to the process. Now, the first thing you need to do is to have Power BI, Microsoft Power BI. For those of you that want to work, that would like to work with me, okay, to solve the problem alongside me. However, I would advise that we all work on it together. And then at the end of the session, you can go back and try to do it yourself. Okay. So if you don't have Power BI, what I've done is I've left the guide for you to download and install Power BI. So Microsoft Power BI is one of the most fantastic data analytics tool that you would need to learn as a data analyst. Okay. So part of the tools you'd need to learn as a data analyst for you to analyze your data, visualize that data, and build amazing dashboards and reports is Power BI. So how do you download? The first step is you need to search in your browser, download Power BI desktop. And when you search, you'd see the option that says downloads Microsoft Power BI. You click on that first option. You don't have to do it on the call. You have that available for you on the slide. So when you get the session, you can always do that. I'll drop the link for the data. Don't worry about that. That's not a problem. For those of you that have joined before, you know that we always make that available for you. Okay. So once you click on that link, it takes you here. All right. You want to go to the Microsoft Power BI desktop and download click on the advanced download options. All right. Once you've clicked on that, it takes you here. You click on download. Next step, it brings you here, you select one of the options. Okay, if you have a 64-bit computer, you select 64 bits. If you're not sure, you select the one that doesn't have 64 in front of it. Once you click on the tick box to select, you click on next, and that downloads Power BI for you. It downloads it into your computer, and all you have to do is execute it. Double click on it and keep on clicking next, next, next until you have Power BI installed. It's a pretty straightforward process, but that's not the process for now. You can do that later when you're a little bit, when you don't have distractions, and you're not trying to follow what I'm doing and missing out on steps. So it's best for us to work together. Let's ask questions, let's contribute. And then at the end of the session, when you get the recording and the slides, you can go back and try to replicate all the things I'll be showing you. Let's get into the case study. You're a data analyst and you've been hired by the NHS to analyze data for them and help them, generate insights from the data. Now, alcohol consumption, while it's a practice across different regions, it has several, damning health consequences. Now, the UK has realized, or they've noticed, that there are a lot of deaths due to what? Alcohol. And it's become an issue for them, a matter of concern. It's impacting families, communities, and also placing a strain on the national healthcare system. Now, as a data analyst with the NHS, you've been asked to do what? Analyze the data related to death due to alcohol, gain insights from that data, and then come up with recommendations to guide public health strategies, policy making, and also drive awareness. okay? And I'll tell you for a fact that this is the major difference between the way we, implement policies and drive campaigns across Africa and the way it's done in the developed world or the major economies. One is done using a data-driven approach. The other one is done based on our whims and caprices and what we think, our gut feeling, and how we feel at a particular point in time. Okay, so you'd see how you can start to use data as a key driver to drive policies, to implement strategies in the public health sector. Now, some of the key things we're going to look at before I show you the data, the key insights we want to see includes, number one, we want to know how the trend of alcohol-related deaths have changed over the years. So we have data from 2001. Just give me 1 second. I need to write a bit. So we have data from 2001 to 2020. So we want to see a trend of the changes. So in the year 2001, how many deaths were there due to alcohol? Did it increase? Did it decrease? And so on and so forth. That's the first question we want to ask or we want to answer. Secondly, we want to answer the question, are there specific regions in the UK that witness a higher number of alcohol-related deaths? Now in the UK, you have England, you have Northern Ireland, you have Scotland, and you have Wales. Those are the four different regions. So you want to find out, is there a specific region or are there specific regions that witnessed a higher number of alcohol-related deaths? You want to answer that as well, so that this drives your strategy. You know where to start to, focus on. Where do we have to get into almost immediately and start to address? The third question is, which gender is more prone to alcohol-related deaths and why will this be the case? So we want to see the gender-related deaths as well across the different regions. Number four, what are the leading causes of alcohol-related deaths? Okay, and are there specific conditions or diseases that are predominant? And the last question, at what age are individuals most at risk of dying due to alcohol consumption? How can interventions be tailored for different age groups? So these are the 5 questions we have. Now, answering these questions would give the NHS the ideas, would give them at least a headway on how to start addressing the issue. And you are responsible for coming up with the analysis. So I want us to take a screenshot of all these 5 questions, okay? Because we're going to answer the questions one after the other, all right? So take a screenshot of this. And I would also want you to come up with recommendations as well. So I'd like volunteers. I would call upon you guys when it's time for us to start discussing the insights we get from the data itself. Okay, so please prepare for that, and I'd like you to contribute to the session. So let's go on. What does the data look like? All right, what does the data, Femi Adeyemi, I think you are volunteering already. So what I'm going to do is I'll take down your name. I can see your hand up. So I'll take down your name, Femi, and then I'll call upon you when it's time for contributions, okay? Thank you very much. All right, so Chinomso as well. I just need about maybe 3 people, really, 3-4 people, and I'm good. Ify and Lucky. Okay, so I have 4 people already. So when it's time for us to discuss our findings, I'll call upon Femi, Chinomso, Ify, and I'll call upon Lucky as well for you to share your thoughts with us. Now let's look at the data set. For you to get access to the data, all you have to do is click on this link. I'll drop the link in the Zoom chat as well for those who would also want to access it and practice along with me. So just give me 1 second to do that. All right, I'm going to drop the link in the chat so we can all work on this together for those of you that want to work anyways. But like I said, the best way is for you to do this later. All right, so let me drop this in the chat. I've done that. So you'd see the link in the chat. You have access to it. Okay, I'm also going to click. If you click on the link, I'll paste it here on my browser as well, and you'd see what it looks like. Okay, you'd see what the data looks like. So if you can see what I have, you'd see that you have the year, you have the ICD-10 code. So this is the code that the NHS uses to classify the specific deaths due to alcohol. So you have the individual cause of death. Okay, you have the individual cause of, I'm going to download it in Excel and we'll see what it looks like really. You have the gender, you have the age group, you have the age group index, you have the deaths, number of people that have died, and then you have the location. England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and so on. So how do you download the data set? So let's assume you receive the slides later. How do you download the data? All you have to do is go to File, right? You click on File, go to Download, and download as an Excel file. All right, I'll do it one more time. You go to File. So once you clicked on the link, it brings you here. You go to File, you go to Download, and download as an Excel file. So once I click on Microsoft Excel, it downloads the file for me. All right, I want you to also bear in mind, if you download the data from here directly, it's a bit different. Okay, so what I did is, if we want to transform the real data on the call, everybody would log out because it's a bit complex. So for somebody who hasn't done this before, and you just get the data the way the data is without key understanding of the Power Query in Power BI, you're going to get confused. So, but the data I have gotten, I've kept on the slide, the one I've shared with you, it's something everybody here on the call can use easily without any issues. All right. So I'm going to open that. I'll go to my download. Okay, and I'm going to open up the data in Excel so we can see what it looks like before we go into Power BI. So I'll double click on the data set. And look at looks like before we into Power BI to do our analysis, right? Okay, so Excel is trying to open. I don't know why it's stopping. Couldn't open. This happens sometimes, okay? So I'm just going to try to open again. It should open now without any hassle. All right, so once you download, I want to show you what the data looks like, and then we'll dive into Power BI and start our analysis. So this is the data in Excel, and I'll maximize it a bit so we can see it clearly. All right. So I'm just going to maximize, all right, so we can see it very clearly on my screen. So you have the year, that's the year the deaths were recorded. You have the code, like I said, the code, you can see that alcohol-induced pseudo-Cushing syndrome has a code of E24.4, all right? So the individual causes all have their respective codes. You have the individual cause of death. So why did the person die? Yes, the person took alcohol, but the alcohol itself would not kill you directly. Something would happen. Either you have issues with the liver, issues with alcohol-induced pseudo-Cushing syndrome, as the case might be. So you have the causes of death, and then you have the gender, female, male, you have female, male, and so on and so forth, okay? You have the age groups, less than 1, 1 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, 15 to 19, and so on and so forth. So different age groups. And then you have the age group index. So this just shows you that less than 1 is the least looking at the age group. Okay, so less than 1 means that child is not even up to 1 year old. All right. 2 is what? 0. That's 1 year to 4 years. That's the second group. The third group is 5 to 9. The fourth group is 10 to 14. So that's what the index means. The number of deaths simply means the number of people that died. Okay, so here you have 0, 0. Nobody that was less than 1 died in England. Nobody that was less than 1 died in Northern Ireland. Same with 0 to 4, 5 to 9. So, but by the time you scroll all the way down, you'd start to see numbers, okay, based on the year, based on the type of death, the gender, the age group, and the location. Okay, so this is what the data looks like. And this is what you've been given. And you've been asked to answer 5 key questions. And the first key question we want to answer is to see the trend. So from the year, so if I come to the drop down here on the data sets where I have year and I click on the drop down, you'd see 2001, 2002. If I scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see 2020. So we have data from 2001 to 2020. So the question is, how has the number of deaths increased and decreased over the years? We want to see that, number 1. So let's try to answer question number 1. Okay, let's try to answer question number 1. And I'm going to bring up my Power BI and then we'll do this from Power BI. All right, so let's get started. Now, I'm assuming you would have installed Power BI for those of you that want to follow. For those of you who would want to try this later, once you've downloaded and installed Power BI, I'm going to close this. All you have to do, very easy, very straightforward, just simply go to your search on your computer. Go to search. Okay, go to search and type in Power BI. All right. So once you have Power BI installed, just search for it. It's going to pop up. And then you click on Power BI Desktop. And once you click on this, it launches Power BI for you. So I'm going to click on it. And let's wait for Power BI to come up. I'll just wait for Power BI to launch. Okay, we're just going to give it a few seconds for it to launch Power BI for us. And then we start answering the questions one after the other. Okay, so Power BI is up. Okay, Microsoft Power BI is up. This very first page that comes up, you don't need it for anything, at least for now. So I'm just going to close. And then I have my Power BI. Now, Power BI is a fantastic tool that helps us come up with amazing dashboards and visualizations. So you've seen the data the way it is. You have your year, you have the ICO code, you have the cause of death, you have the location, you have the age group, but you really can't make sense out of the data set. So we want to do some analysis and visualize, most importantly, we want to visualize our findings, what we have seen, answering those questions one after the other. So question number 1 is, how has the trend of alcohol-related death changed over the years? So I want to show this. But before I can do this, I have to bring my data into Power BI. All right? Because if the data is not in Power BI, we can't do anything. To get your data into Power BI, you can do it in so many ways. So many ways. It is actually glaring at you right on the screen. If you can see my screen, you'd see where it says import data from Excel. So my data is an Excel file because we just downloaded it as Excel. You have the link. I showed you how to click on the link, go to file, go to download as an Excel file. So I can either click on this import data from Excel, or the top left corner, you'd see where you have get data. And if I go to get data, I click on the drop down, you'd see Excel workbook. I can click on that as well. Or I can also click on Excel workbook, also staring right in front of me. So Power BI is a very intuitive, fantastic tool that helps. You can see things and know exactly what that thing should do because it's very straightforward. Without anybody telling you, you know that to get your data from Excel, you can click on this particular space and then it shows you how to get your data. All right. So we can click on this, import data from Excel. I click on that, or you do the other options that I showed you. My data is in my downloads, because when I downloaded, it went to my downloads. So I click on downloads, okay? And I can see the file that I downloaded, alcohol regions final 1. That's the file that I downloaded. All I need to do is click on that file, and then I click on what? Open. That's all. Click on the file and click on open. So once you do this, Power BI would start to connect to that particular data source in your downloads folder, and you'd start to see exactly what I mean. So you'd see the navigator window that pops up. And this navigator window is simply saying, you pointed me to a data set. I've gone into that Excel file, and I can see a sheet in the Excel file called alcohol regions. If I click on alcohol regions, it shows me a preview of the data itself. So we can see the preview, year, ICD code, individual cause of death, gender, age groups, age group index. If I scroll all the way to the right, you'd see deaths, and you'd see what? Location. All right. This is the data that I want. So I'm going to bring in this data into Power BI. But for me to bring the data into Power BI, I need to select that particular data set. I haven't selected it. I just clicked on alcohol regions. I need to select the tick box right in front of the data. So I select the tick box by clicking on it. And at the down right corner, I have 3 options. One says load, the other one says transform, and the other one says cancel. All right. Now, always remember this. Before you load your data into Power BI, you must always transform the data, because getting data into Power BI for analysis follows a process called ETL. Follows a process called what? ETL. I'm just going to write that on the screen. ETL. And what does ETL mean? Extract, transform, and load. Okay, so you extract, you transform, and then you load. Transform means putting your data in the right shape for analysis, ensuring everything with your data is fine for analysis. That's what transformation is all about, really. So transformation is either you are deleting something, you are adding something, you are removing something, or you are changing the orientation of that particular column or the data itself. You are doing something to the data to ensure that it is good for analysis before you go ahead and load. But because of the time involved in transforming, we're not going to dwell on that. That's not the essence of today's class. The purpose of today's class is to see some of the fantastic things Power BI can do for you, especially with regards to health-related data. Okay, so you always ensure that you extract, which means your data is somewhere. You're going to go to where that data is. You're going to transform before you what? Load. So this is number 1, number 2, and number 3. So having said this, going back to our Power BI, which of the 3 options do I select? Load, transform data, or cancel? Just type it in the chat. Which of the 3 options? Load. Abdul says load. I want to hear from more people. Which of the 3 options? Mutiu. So Abdul didn't listen to me. I said you always have to do what? Transform before you load. So we haven't transformed yet, or at least we haven't clicked on transform. So ETL, extract, transform, and load. Extract, transform, and load. After 30 minutes, I'm going to pause, and then I'll take questions. All right. So I'll take questions at 9 p.m. At exactly 9 p.m., I'm going to pause, and I'll take questions from you guys. Okay, so we're going to transform. That's the next step. So I go here and I click on what? Transform data. I click on transform data. And when you do this, what happens? It brings you into the environment where you are meant to transform your data. Okay, but like I said, because of time, I'd have loved to show you guys the process in which the data would be transformed to get it into a state for analysis, but that'll take too much time and it would feel too complex for you, especially for the beginners, which could frustrate you out of this session. Okay, so we don't have more transformation to do here. The data is pretty clean. I've made sure of that. The data is pretty clean for us to do our analysis. The only thing we are going to change in this data set would be the year, the data type for the year. So once you look at each column from the data that you brought into the Power Query, after you clicked on transform, you'd see a number 1, 2, 3 in front of year. 1, 2, 3 simply means whole number. That's the data type for this column. So you'd see ABC in front of individual cause of death because individual cause of death has what? Text related data. So 1, 2, 3 is whole number, ABC is text, and so on and so forth. You have different data types. Now, because my year, I'm not going to use year for any calculation. I'm not going to say year 2001 plus year 2002 plus year 2015. I'm not going to use it for any mathematical operation. Okay, I'm going to convert it to text. We can leave it the way it is, no doubt about that. We don't have any issues, but I'm going to convert it to what? Text. Okay, so to convert your year to text, if you click on the data type and you click on what? Text, it would ask, do you want to add a new step or replace current? I'm going to add a new step. So if I want to delete that step, let's assume I made a mistake and I want to delete it, I can delete it later. So I click on add a new step. So that changes my year into text for me. So I'm doing this deliberately to make my analysis easier for me, all right? Because my year was giving whole numbers by default, because Power Query has looked at that column and has seen that you have numbers in this column and gave it the data type numbers. But numbers are good for analysis. When you want to aggregate, you want to sum, you want to divide, you want to multiply, and so on and so forth, okay? But here, we're not going to do any calculation with the year. So I'm going to convert it to text, which I've done. And then that's all we're going to do in the Power Query before we load the data into Power BI. Okay, so to load my data, all I have to do is go to the top left corner, close and apply, click on the drop down, and then I click on what? Close and apply. All right, I'm going to take a pause, 2 minutes pause, and take any questions that we have. Any questions, guys? If you have questions, very quickly, 2 minutes, and then we continue. 2 minutes, and then we continue. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Mr. Hype, go ahead and ask a question. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, and then go ahead and ask your question. Maybe that's the only question we're going to take. So I've asked you to unmute yourself, Mr. Hype. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
So I want to know, how do we break our data, like get the questions and to break it into, I don't know, kind of confused.
How did we what? Can you ask one question, Mr. Hype? I'm not sure I get you. How did we do what?
How do we come about the questions, like your data, like I don't, like the year, the alcohol consumption rate, death rate.
How did I come about the data? Is that, or the question? Which one of them?
Yeah, the question and the answers, like that.
Okay, let me try to answer what I think you're trying to ask, Mr. Hype. So first of all, how did I come up with the question? Let's go back to the questions that we have. Okay, now always remember, I think I've gone past it. Okay, so let me take this out of my screen. Always remember that whenever you're analyzing data, you're not analyzing that data for yourself. You're analyzing it for some key stakeholders. So assume you work with the NHS, which is the body that manages the health sector in the UK. Imagine you work for them. And when somebody comes to the hospital, and unfortunately, that person dies as a result of alcohol, the data is recorded. Oh, how old is this person? They enter it into the record. Where is this person from? England. What was the cause of death? Liver-related issues. What year? 2002. So they record every death due to alcohol. And that's how we came up. That's how the data was, eventually. Let's go back to the data. So that's how they came up with these data. So every single death due to alcohol was recorded, first of all. Now, the NHS now wants to understand key insights from the data they have gathered over the last 20 years, from 2001 to 2020, about 19 years. They want to know, what can we get from the data we've been recording? How can this data give us information? Because data is not information until you analyze the data, you process the data. You just like the way you cannot eat rice. If you buy rice from the markets in the bag, you can't do anything with the rice. You have to cook the rice, you have to add salt, add pepper, add tomatoes, add different things, and then you either have jollof rice or you prepare stew and so on and so forth. The stew and the jollof rice is what we are about to prepare. The data is the raw rice we bought from the market. So the NHS has the data, and they want us to give them something that has information that they can use to come up with recommendations. Okay, out of all the people that have died in the last 20 years, most of them are from Northern Ireland, for example, or most of them are of the age 35 to 39. So this means that there's a particular category or age group of people that are susceptible to death due to alcohol. So if I know that the majority of people dying are within a particular age group, I don't need to target everybody. I don't need my awareness or campaign to be for everybody. I'm going to target that group of people or those group of people, find out where do they hang out. Why would they be the ones who are, most likely to die due to alcohol? We can start to answer key questions. The questions I have on my slide are the questions you would come up with when you sit down and have sessions or interviews with the key stakeholders in NHS. So you have a line manager, you have a director, for example. The director wants to know or wants to see some things based on experience. Oh, Mr. Hype, I want to know. We have 4 regions in the UK. Out of the 4 regions, which region has the highest number of deaths? It's a simple question you get from conversations. Okay, so you take your notepad. So Mr. Hype, in that situation, you take your notepad, you take your pen, you sit down in front of the stakeholders, your line manager, the director, and you ask them questions. Oh, I want to do this analysis. Are there, insights you'd like to see from the data that we have? And they'll be like, oh, okay, yes, I want to know. Do we have the highest number of deaths from Scotland? Or where is the highest number of deaths? You write it down. What age group? You write it down as well. So that's one way you come up with those questions. Okay. Another way is you as the analyst, you need to have critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills. And that's the first skill as a data analyst. So you need to, when you see a data and you see the features, which is the headers of the data that you have, you should start thinking of the type of questions or the type of insight you can generate from that data set. Okay, so you asked a very good question, which I think, gives clarity into some other areas. So let's get back to our session, and I hope that helped. Okay, let me see. Is it possible to have both text and numbers? It's impossible in Power BI. If you have text and numbers and you use one data type, let's assume you have text and numbers in a column. So you have Adeza, Suleiman, 3, 4, and I put it as text, the numbers will become errors. If I put it as numbers, the text will become errors. So you can't have the two at once. One would have to give, all right? So let's get back to our Power BI and let's answer the question. So now we've loaded our data into Power BI. How do I know I've loaded my data? I can see at the right-hand side, the data that I had in my Power Query, alcohol regions. If I click on the drop-down, you can see all the columns that we have, all the columns, age groups, age group index, deaths, gender, ICD code, individual cause of death, location, and year. I can see everything right in front of me. By clicking on the drop-down, I can collapse it. I can open it up as much as I want to. Okay, let's answer question number 1. I want to show a trend, which means I want to see something that looks like a line. All right. And let me just quickly show you what it should look like here. I want to see something like this, where I would see 2001 up until 2020, and I want to see a line. When did it increase? Number of deaths, when did it decrease? And so on. I want to see a trend to show that what did we do here that made the number of deaths reduce? What happened here that made the number of deaths increase? So you can start to ask those questions. And that's the first thing we want to show in our reports, the first question we want to answer. Okay, so let's answer that. Now, because I want to see the total number of deaths across all the years, remember that not only one person dies in a particular year. Several people would have died in 2001, several in 2002. So I need to aggregate and sum them together, add them up. So if I add 2001, 2002, what would be the total in 2001, 2002, and so on and so forth? So that column that says deaths, the number of deaths, I'm going to add it up. I'm going to sum it up. I'm going to aggregate it to total number of deaths. And for me to do that in Power BI, I'll create a measure. I'll create something called a measure. Okay, so a measure is like a set of instructions. They're calculations you write and they mimic instructions. So the moment you click on that measure, it carries out an operation for you. The measure we want to create now is the calculation for the total number of deaths. So that whenever I select that measure, it calculates the total number of deaths for me. So how do I create it? All I need to do is go to my table, alcohol regions. I right click on it and I'll see something called new measure. So once I right click and I see new measure, I click on that and then I'm going to write my measure. So let me maximize this so we can see it clearly. My measure is what? Total deaths. So I take out whatever I had in there and I type in total deaths. So I want to calculate the total deaths. Total deaths equal to what? Sum. I want to sum equal to sum. So once you type sum, you'd see the function. Whoops. You see the function for sum. Okay, so you see the function for sum. I'm just going to click on that with my mouse. And the next thing is, what do I want to sum? I want to sum the deaths column. So that column that has deaths, alcohol region deaths, that's the column I want to sum. So I get the total number of deaths. So I click on that and then I close my brackets. That's all I need to do. Total death equal to sum alcohol regions death, and I close the bracket. So this would calculate the total number of deaths for me. And all I have to do is hit enter, and that creates my very first measure. So once you write calculations, the way I've written it, you have created a measure. So if you look at my mouse, you'd see the measure I just created called what? Total depth. Total depth. With this, I can answer my question 1 and pretty much all the other questions that I need to answer. Okay, so let's answer question number 1. I want to show a trend, a line. All right. And always remember this, even though we're not going to focus on making our reports beautiful and visually appealing because we don't have that time. We're just going to build something to answer the questions without bothering on how to make it look nice, make it look pretty, make it look good, because data visualization is a science and it's also an art. So while you write calculations, which is the scientific part of things, the principles you follow, the beautifying, making it look visually appealing is the artistic part of data visualization. And that's very, very important as well. Okay. So like I said, we're not going to dwell too much on the artistic part because of time, but I'm going to use a particular theme to give me specific type of colors. And I'll show you what I mean once I create my very first visual. To create the visual that I want to use, which is the line chart, I'll go to my visualizations. You can see the visualization pane and you have different types of visuals. And these are charts that would show what you're trying to analyze. All right. I'm going to use the line chart. I'll use the what? Line chart. So I click on line. And the moment I click on line, what happens? It gives me a blank line. I'm just going to increase the size a little bit, something like this. Okay, so this is my line chart, but it's blank. There is nothing in there. What do I want to put inside this line chart? I want to show the year and the total debts. Did it increase or did it decrease? So I'll simply click on this blank chart. I'll go to the right-hand side where I have my data. And then I'll first of all select what? Year. Click on year to select. Okay. And the total depth I just calculated, the measure I just created called total depth, I'll click on it as well. So we're going to see a line, but the line is not properly, organized. It's in ascending order, 2020, 2017, 2019. It is not arranged in the way it should be arranged. So I'm going to reorder my years at the bottom. How do I reorder? Once you click on the chart you have created, at the top right, you'd see the more options button. I click on it and I go to sort axis. I want to sort the axis by the what? The year. Sort axis by what? Year. I click on year. It still hasn't sorted it. It has sorted it in year, but in descending order. 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017. I want it to start from 2001, not from 2020. So it is sorting it in descending order. I want it in ascending order. I go back to more options. I go back to sort axis and I select what? Sort ascending. Okay. And this is what we have. This is what we have. And I want somebody to tell us something. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think. So now you can see that the line is blue. Okay, I'm going to change the theme. And this is where, you want to add some colors, make things look good. We're not going to dwell on that, like I mentioned, but I'm just going to go to view and I want to change the theme to solar. So I click on the drop down and I'll change my theme to solar. Okay, that's it. And you can see the blue line changed to orange, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to beautify it any more than I've already done. That's all. I go to view, I go to themes. You can choose different themes. If I click on another theme here, you see that the color changes, right? But I want to use the theme solar. Okay, and this is what I have. Now, looking at the trend, I want you to tell me, what do you think? Tell me what you think about this particular visual. So who wants to try? We have Femi, Chinonso, Ifi, and Lucky. So who wants to go? Okay, I can see Femi wants to respond. So Femi, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Tell us what you see. Let me make it bolder. So I'm going to click on focus mode. I'll click on focus mode to make it bolder, okay? So you can see it fill up the screen. So Femi, tell us what you can see from this particular visual. What does it tell you?
Yes, this is it's quite alarming because what I was expecting was to see that in the last 19 years, there could have been some significant drop. But this line graph that I'm seeing from 2021, it's just going up and up. And then very alarming, between 2019 and 2020, it's a huge increase. So there's something really wrong with, death related to alcohol.
Fantastic. So we've seen, initially, we couldn't really tell anything because we only had the data. We did not do any analysis. We couldn't visualize what we were seeing. But now, look at the spike between 2019 and 2020. And we are analysts, remember, we always question things and ask questions every single time. Why do you think we have that spike? Let's come up with assumptions. What could have led to the spike in the year 2020? What could have led to the spike in the year 2020? Who wants to try? Chinonso, Ifi, Lucky. I have BC. BC is here again. How are you doing today, BC? Go ahead. Let's hear from you.
Hi. So of course the pandemic happened, right? And there was no vaccine to fight COVID initially. So that kind of will have contributed to the increase in number of deaths as well. So people are home just drinking or spending, even in as much as we're told to isolate. Some people might not have isolated, or they might have gone to see family, and then that way you touch a table, touch a chair, speak to somebody, and then you contract COVID, right? And that could have kind of increased the numbers.
Fantastic assumption. Thank you very much, BC. I always like having BC on the call because BC gives us some very succinct, very nice, insights and assumptions as to what could have happened. And absolutely, I subscribe to that. So let's go back to the report. Now, in 2019, COVID have started, especially towards the end of the year, Q4 2019. And by 2020, we had the lockdown. People were stuck at home. People had major issues. People that were living alone found themselves in the house, alone, which of course could have affected their mental health, nobody to talk to, you couldn't socialize. And that could have led to people drinking a lot more than they should. All right. And that is a very good assumption as to why we have this increase. And we can then start to think of, ideas and strategies. If we ever had a pandemic again, what should we do? Okay. How can we address issues like this? Can we set up mental health support initiatives whereby if there's a pandemic, there's a lockdown, God forbid, you have easy access to people to talk to medical help, to mental health, experts and so on, that you can speak to, share your your fears with. Oh, this is the problem I'm having now. Somebody to talk to address those issues for you. And I think we can start to fashion out, different strategies just based on what we've seen. And you can see the growth is being alarming right from 2015. Or even from 2014, you can see it's been increasing all the way with a large spike in the year 2020. And that's the very first question that we have answered. Thank you very much for contributing, Femi and BC. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to add a border around these charts. Okay, so if I click on the blank space, what happens? You have just the charts without any outline. So I'm just going to add an outline. So I'll click on the charts, and then I'll add an outline. So how will I do that? So once I click on the chart, I go to Format. I click on Format, General, click on General. Okay, straightforward, yeah. Effects, and then you see the visual border, turn it on. Okay, turn on visual border. Now you'd ask the question, how do you know it's there? How do you know where to click on? And that's just you using Power BI very often. The more often you use the tool, the easier it would be for you to find everything. But when you want to add lines, you want to change colors, you want to do this to your chart, you do that from format. Okay, always from format. So now you can see there is a line, an outline across our visual. So let's leave it at that for now. And let's answer question number 2, which is, let me take this away from my slide. So question number 2 is, are there specific regions? Are there what? Specific regions that in the UK that witnessed a higher number of alcohol-related death? Remember, we have Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and England. So where did we have the highest number coming from? That's question number 2. And then we'll answer the one for the gender distribution as well. So let's go back to Power BI. Okay, what do we want to see here? So now we can see what we have. Okay, let's show the regions and see the region that had the highest number as well. I'm just going to use a pie chart or a donut chart for this. So I'm going to click on donuts at the right-hand side. Make sure you click on a blank space, first of all. Click on donuts. Okay, so it gives you a blank donut chart. I'm just going to bring it up here. I'll resize it. Okay, let's reduce the size a bit, something like this. All right. And in my donut charts, I want to show the regions and the total death by region. So while I'm clicked on this visual, I go to location. Okay, I click on location, and then I click on what? Year. Okay, I click on location and I click on year. But now it has taken, I beg your pardon, not year, total death, of course. I meant to click on total death, not year. So location, and I want to know the total death by location. So I click on total death. And of course, you can see it gives us a pie. But then the pie is not very clear because of my legend. So I'm just going to move my legend from where it is at the right-hand side, and I'll move it to the bottom. Now, remember, whenever you are changing things you have created inside a visual, you do it from where? Format. You do it from where? Format. I'm going to ask the question again, and I'll see if I'll know if you've been listening to me. Why don't we use a map? I don't want to use a map, Victor. We can use a map if we want to, but there is no need to use a map because we are dealing with just 4 regions, okay? So I'll use the pie, and then I'll bring my legend to the bottom. Okay, and how do I do that? I go to my format, and I'll go to my legend, open it up, and I'll select the position. So click on the drop down and bottom center. So at the bottom, I want to see my legend. So bottom center. So my chart is a little bigger than what it was. So let's expand it a bit. All right, so I still can't see everything here under my legend. I can see just England, Scotland, and Wales. So I'm going to reduce the size of the font so I can see everything without having to click the right arrow or the back arrow. So still clicked on this visual and still under legend, I'll go to my text. Okay, and then I'll reduce the size to 8 is fine, I think. Let me just increase this a bit. Yes, so now we can see England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. England is the orange color, the bigger size of the donuts, then followed by Scotland, and then Wales, and then Northern Ireland. But we can't see the number for Northern Ireland. So sometimes the position of your pie would determine how your labels are, shown. So I can see for England, I can see for Scotland, I can see for Wales, and I can see for Northern Ireland. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate the pie or rotate the donuts, and I'll still rotate that, still click on the visual, go to format, and I'll go to rotation, and I would rotate it by increasing the degrees. So if I click this up 1 degree, it keeps on rotating, and you can see it would rotate until, I want it to rotate until I can see everything. All right. So I'll rotate. Okay, so I think this is fine. I've rotated. I can see all the numbers now. Okay, 48,207, 15K, 10K. And I have the percentages as well in brackets. I want to take out the decimals out of the percentage. Where do I go? I go back to format. Okay, but this time around is not my legend. These are my labels. So I'm going to go to my label. I'll collapse legend. I'll go to my detail labels because that's where I'll see how to format my labels. So I'll go to my detail labels. I'll go to values. All right. And then my percentage decimal place. I want it to be 0, no decimal place. So I click in here and I put 0 and it takes out the decimals for me. And that's all I need. All right. I click back outside and now we can see the total death by location. All right. Total death by location. I'm also going to put a border around this. So I'll click, go back to format, go back to general, effects, and then visual border, turn it on. So now I have a border. All right. Now, before we go on, there is something we did not do. Okay. And I'll show you. And I want you to tell me what you think. I almost forgot. For you to see your data in the shape of rows and columns, so columns and rows, just like we saw it at the beginning before we started. At the left-hand side, you have your report view, which is where we are at the moment, creating all of this. You have your table view and your model view. If you click on your table view, it shows you your data in rows and columns. Okay. Now, if you go to your gender, click on the drop down under gender. We have female, we have male, and we have persons. Okay. Female, male, and persons. What do you think we should do? What does person mean? Seeing female, male, and person, what does it mean? What does person mean? Who wants to try? Who wants to attempt to answer that question? You have female, you have male, and then you have persons. And of course, you might not know, but I can tell you what it is, and maybe so that we don't take too much time. Now, the data came in a way that they showed for female, you have records for female gender, male gender, and then you have combined for both female and male, and they called it persons. All right, but I have loaded everything. I have loaded the male, I have loaded the female, I have loaded the persons all together. And this is part of the mistakes you can make. All right. So because I've loaded female and male and persons, I'm double counting. So if I've counted male and female already, and I'm adding persons again, which is a combination of male and female, it means I am double counting. And I don't want that to happen. Okay. So which means that the process where I loaded my data, I have to go back there to correct something. And this is where nothing is set in stone. You can always go back, make adjustments here and there. And I'll show you what would happen when we go back. Okay. Now, if we want to see the total number of deaths, I'm going to show you what it is because we have double counted. And when we address the issue of removing that double counting, removing persons and have just male and female, because persons is a combination of male and female, you'd see that the numbers will drop. So I'm just going to add a visual that I might delete later. So I'll add a card. Okay. And in this card visual, I'll click on my total deaths. So I have 279K, 279,000. So I'm assuming that the total number of deaths between 2001 and 2020 is what? 279. But we have double counted, male, female, and persons. It is either you select persons, which is a combination of male and female, or you select just the male and female and leave persons out of it, else you'll be double counting. So I need to go back to my Power Query to address that. Okay. So from your home tab, you'd see the transform data. This takes you back to your Power Query. So I click on transform data, and then it takes us back to that area where we change something to from whole number to text and all of that. You can see we are back here. All right. So I go to my gender and I click on the drop down, and you can see female, male, and persons. Okay. Female, male, and persons. I'm going to, and it's saying list may be incomplete, load more. I'm going to click on load more, and then I'll deselect persons. I don't want to load persons. I only want to load female and male, because persons is a combination of both already. And I'll click on OK. So deselect persons, click on OK. All right, and that's all you have to do. And I'll go back to my close and apply, and click on close and apply. So you can always come back here if you make a mistake. Now you see 279 would reduce because we had double counted. Okay, so can you see from 279 it reduced to what? 140K. So now this is the actual number of people that have died due to alcohol. So I'm going to take this out. I just needed to show you, that was why I added this. So I'm going to remove this, click on the more options, remove. Now I want somebody to tell us what you can see from the location. Okay, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. What do you see from this particular chart? What does it tell you? What does it tell you? Somebody that hasn't spoken so far. So let's listen to Ify. Ify, please go ahead and tell us what you can see.
Hi everyone, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so I can see from the data that more people in England, there are more deaths in England due to drinking, because there are 24K, 70% of people that are on this chart. Sorry, 104K. Thank you for expanding. 104K people in England, that's a result of alcohol-related diseases.
Where do we have the least number of deaths?
The least number is, sorry, please, can you reduce it? I can't seem to reduce. Okay.
Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland, thank you. I was trying to, Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland, absolutely. Where you have just 4%. 4% of the deaths are from Northern Ireland, 5% from Wales, and between England and Scotland, you have over about 91%. So 91% of the deaths due to alcohol are from Scotland and England. England is 74%, and then Scotland is 17%. So of course, population would also play a role in this. All right.
Yeah.
So to put the analysis into context, is always good if we could get the population data. And that'll be my assignment to you guys. All right. Try to get the population for these different countries. So in England, what's the population? So let's assume England, you have about 1 million people, and that's just a fictitious number. Now, 104,000 died out of 1 million. That's roughly 9% or close to 10%. So you want to calculate number of people that died based on the population. And that would put things in context for you. So even though Northern Ireland might be 4% of the total number of deaths, what is the population of Northern Ireland? So 5K people died, 5,000 people died. What if Northern Ireland only has 20,000 people? So which means that 1/4 of the population died due to alcohol. So that puts it into, perspective of what is really going on. So, but we don't have the population data, so we're not going to bother ourselves with that. But this gives us a clear idea as to where the deaths are coming from. And they're coming majorly from where? from England. They are coming majorly from England. All right. Now we also want to see the gender that is more prone to death. I'm sure we can all guess. I want you to guess before we even do the analysis. Exactly. Kaiti says England has more population. Absolutely. England has more population than the other countries. So we want to put things into perspective, like I said, by looking at the population, in putting its male. Chinwe says male. So let's do that very quickly. Let's see the gender. So I'm going to copy and paste. I'll copy and paste this pie because I also want to create, well, it's a donut anyways, a donut chart. So I'll copy and paste and I'll drag it to the right-hand side. Okay, so let me reduce this a bit so that we have space. Reduce a bit. Yep. We can increase the size of our canvas, okay? But we don't want to do all of that because of time. We can increase the size of the canvas so we don't have enough space for the charts. So I have a duplicate of my total deaths by location, but this time around, I want to see total deaths by what? Gender. So I'm going to take out location from this particular donut chart. So I'll click and take away location, and then I'll select what? Gender. And we have male and we have female. All right, we have male and we have female, and it's like night and day in terms of the number of people. So let's hear from Lucky. Lucky, what do you see from the gender, deaths due to gender?
Okay, before you separated the two, like change location to gender, I tried using the pie chart instead. So, okay. And the figure here I'm having that the female has 32.63%, while the male has 94%. So we can see that there are more deaths for the male gender than the female.
Absolutely. The male gender has more death. You can see that 94,000 have died, unfortunately, due to alcohol. And that's because if you also notice in England, what happens? After work, everybody goes out, they go to the pub and they drink until it's evening before they go back to that, to their various homes. So that's sort of like a culture for them. And when you have that type of, culture among young professionals, you have a lot of, men drinking at the pubs before they go back home after a very busy work day. And perhaps that's the reason why you have, more male compared to female dying due to alcohol based on the data that we have. All right. So that's question number 3. And now we are starting to see that, look, as an organization, if we are to target solving this problem, death due to alcohol, first of all, we can see that the trend has been on the increase, okay? We also want to measure this in line with the population for each year, and perhaps even see what's the rates, what's the growth rate? Is the growth rate increasing or is it decreasing? Okay, so is the growth, is it increasing or is it decreasing? So the difference between the current and the previous year, if it is higher year on year, then that's a problem, because it means that the rates of death is increasing year on year. But even though you have an increase, the rates could actually be decreasing. Okay, but we don't want to go into such complex, well, not really too complex, but we don't want to go into any complexities today. And we can also see that England seems to be the country with the highest number of deaths, or the region with the highest number of deaths, also due to their population. And of course, the male gender are, more susceptible to death due to alcohol. Now we want to see the causes of death. That's the question number 4. What are the leading causes of alcohol-related death? And are there specific conditions, okay, or diseases that are predominant? All right. And then we'll answer the last question, which is the age group and the reason why those age groups have died due to alcohol. So let's go back and let's answer the last two questions. We're going to use a clustered bar chart for this, right? And I'm just going to put it under this chart over here. And I want to see the causes of death and then the total number. So based on the causes of death, how many people died due to, so is there a major cause? And what's the major cause of death due to alcohol? So I'm going to click on individual cause of death. Click on that, and then I'll click my total death. Okay, and this gives us a bar chart that looks like this, but you have a whole lot, all right? And the other ones are very few. You can see the bars that are a bit longer. So what I'm going to do is I'll reduce this to just top 5. Show me the top 5 causes of death. Don't show me everything, because the other ones you can say are not too significant. So if we are looking to focus on specifics and address those areas, show me the top 5. So to show the top 5, I have to filter. So while clicked on this chart, I go to my filters, I open up filters, okay? And when you open up filters, you'd see the filters based on the visual you've selected: individual cause of death and total death. I want to filter the top 5 individual cause of death, not everything. So I click on the drop down here, okay? And instead of basic filtering, I click on the drop down again, and I select top N. Top N. So top N can give you either top or bottom. So I click on top N, all right? Top N. So I can either select top something, I type in the number here, or I can change top to what? Bottom. So if I want to see the bottom 5, I can change it to bottom 5. If I want to see the top 5, I'll change it to what? Top, and I'll type in 5 in there. So, but the filter is going to ask you, you want to see top 5 by what? Is it top 5 by total number of deaths, or is it top 5 by what exactly? Yes, by total number of deaths. So I have to add my total number of deaths into this field. So you can see here, it says add data field here. So I'm going to drag total deaths and I'll drop it in that field. So show me top 5 by total death. And then I click on apply filter. So now it reduces everything and just shows me the top 5. And of course, I'm also going to add the numbers. So I click on format your visual, add data labels. We can see the number of people that have died due to alcohol. Okay, so now, very quick one. I want you to tell us, somebody else should tell us, maybe Akintola, I can see your hand is up. Do you want to tell us what you can see here? The main reasons or the major causes of death due to alcohol. Igwe, I'll take you for the next question. Let me take Akintola. Akintola, go ahead, please.
All right, sir. The real cause of the deaths is alcohol due to the liver disease.
Mm-hmm.
And then yes, it's due to the liver disease. And then the second one is the mental and behavioral disorders.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Akintola. So you can see the
yes,
major.
Sir, I still want to add something, sir.
Go ahead, please.
When we are talking about gender by total number of deaths, can we have a total number of deaths, location, and the gender? Let's say for England. Yes, in England now, how many female? How many male in England? In Scotland, how many male? How many female? So that if we can check the 3 together, the total deaths, the location, and the gender. Let's see what we have as an output.
Absolutely, we can do that. Okay. Thank you for that, Akintola. So there's so much with this data that we have. There's so much we can do and we can get out of the data sets. Trust me, so much. Because of time, what I even plan to even do, I'm not sure we can do everything because I'm just going to answer the next one and then we'll start to wrap up from the visuals that we've created so far. But there is so much you can do with the data that you have here. So I'm going to add, I'll click on this visual and I would add my border as well, just to make it stand out on its own. Add visual border. And the last we're going to create is the age groups and the major causes of death for each age group. So let's, first of all, let's see the age groups and the cause of death. And I'm going to use a clustered colon. Let's start with a clustered colon, first of all. Increase the size. We're going to change it from a clustered colon, but let's start from here. So I select a clustered colon and I want to select the age group. So show me the age group and show me the total death. Okay, so of course it's showing me in descending order, but I want to arrange it by the age group. So show me from less than 1 to 1 to 4, 5 to 9, and so on and so forth. So I'd come here, click on the top right corner, sort axis by age group. Okay, it's showing me in descending order, 90, 85 to 89. I want it to start from less than 1. All right, so I click on more options again, sort axis in ascending order. So now I have the age groups, and you can see less than 1, you have just very few, just about 5 deaths. 10 to 14, you have very few as well, about 3, 68, but then you can see the spike between 50 to 54 and 55 to 59. There's a major spike, all right? But you then want to see what have led to the, to the deaths due to these particular age groups. So you've seen the age groups that are at risk, all right, that are most at risk of dying due to alcohol consumption, okay? But we can also add another feature, which is we can add the cause of death. We can add the cause of death limited to the top 3, and we see the top 3 causes of death. So if I take the individual cause of death, click on it, it would add it as a legend. But this, because we have so many types of death, but we don't want to focus on everything. We want to focus on only, let's say, the top 3 for the age groups to see which age group, the cause of death per age group, and we know what to address, okay? So the same way, I'm also going to what? Filter the individual cause of death to the top 3. So I go back to my filters. I go to my individual cause of death, click on the drop down, change it from basic filtering to top N as usual. And I want to see just the top 3. Top 3 what? Causes of death by total death. So I drag my total death, I drop it in here, apply filter. Okay, so I have something that looks like this, but it's still not very easy to look at. Okay, so we have accidental poisoning, alcohol, liver disease, and mental and behavioral disorders. But I want to use a different type of chart. So I'm going to use the stacked colon charts instead of the clustered colon. So I'll click on stacked colon, and this looks a bit better. So you can see that the alcohol, liver disease, you can see the distribution across the age groups. You see the distribution. The mental and behavioral, you can see the distribution. And then accidental poisoning, you can see that as well. So let me take questions from Igwe. Igwe, you want to tell us what you've seen or what you can see here? Let me reduce, okay, I clicked on something. Let me reduce the size of this. Igwe, go ahead and tell us what you can see, and then let's start to wrap up this part of our session today. Igwe, go ahead, please. If you are still there, Igwe, I know you've been raising your hand to answer questions. Okay, let me take BC, please go ahead.
Okay, so from what I can see, first things first, I noticed that once people get to that legal drinking age, then they start to kind of go up until maybe they get older, and then they start to come down, right? So the drinking starts at the legal age, and it's quite obvious that the highest is with the alcoholic liver disease. And the lowest is accidental poisoning by exposure to alcohol. Yep.
Absolutely. So we can see clearly that the age group of, like you said, once they get to that drinking age, they start to drink and the number just keeps on increasing. But it peaks at 55 to 59. That's when you have most of them, the consequence of excessive drinking over the years starts to materialize. Once they get to 55 to 59, 50 to 54, that's when you have the spike. All right. So you want to come up with ways, design interventions that are suitable for older adults. All right. Maybe you want to collaborate with public health providers and ensure that you provide counseling, screenings, and start to, get the awareness out there when they get to that drinking age. From 25 to 29, it increases, 30 to 34, 35 to 39. It keeps on increasing until they get to the stage where they see that, look, we need to start reducing. So rather than allowing them get to that stage where the number increases when they get to that old age of 55 to 59, let's start to intervene a lot earlier to bring down the numbers as much as we can. So by looking at this, it's clear, and just like Akin, I think it was Akintola, I can't remember who mentioned, can we show the gender and the different locations and so on? There are so many things we can show. What's even the percentage? And let's add something very quickly. Let's add a slicer. So I'll add a slicer, click on the slicer. I'll add a slicer to the top. I think this is the last thing I'll just do. So we go back to the slide to wrap up. So I'll add a slicer at the top over here, and I'll add my location. So while I clicked on the slicer, I'll select location. I want everything to show. So I'll click on my format. I'll go to my slicer settings, and I'll change it from a vertical list to tile. Okay, so I have England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. So from here, I can click on any of the regions and it would filter what I have. Okay, so if I click on England, for example, I have data for only England, all right? The percentage of male, percentage of female, and you can see the numbers as well, still within the age of 50 to 54, 55 to 59. You can see the trend as well. And alcohol, liver disease, mental health, accidental poisoning, nothing changed. Northern Ireland, pretty much the same trend, but you can see there was a drop in the year 2013. Between 2012 and 2013, what did we do? What happened? Why did we have that drop? We had another drop slightly in the year 2019, but of course, COVID came, increased, 2019 increased, 2020. Scotland, we can see Scotland, also a very interesting trend in Scotland. You had very high numbers, early 2001. It peaked in 2006, but then it started to drop. So what interventions were put in place between 2006 to 2007 that led to the decrease? And of course, between 2008 and 2009 as well, it dropped all the way to 2012. So what happened that led to the rise? Again, of course, 2020, we can attribute it to COVID and so many other external factors. And we can filter to see for each of the region, and there are different, differences in the way people have died due to alcohol. My charge to you guys would be to go back and from what you've seen, think of more questions, all right? Just like the question, I think it was Akintola that asked just now, can we do this? Can we add this? Can we take out this? Can we do more? Obviously, can we see just for male and female? Can we add some cards to see the total number? What's even the total number? Okay, if I add a card to show me the total number, can I see the total number of people that died due to alcohol? I add a card here. I click on total death, 140K, but I want to see the absolute number. So I click on my format. I go to call out value. And instead of auto under display units, I change it to what? None. So it gives me the exact number of people, 139,598. So when I click on England, it gives me 103,647. When I click on Northern Ireland, 4,910. So again, this starts to tell us that, look, can I add the total number? Can I see the number for male and female by region? Can I calculate that here? And the answer is yes, you can do it. Unfortunately, we don't have all the time, and I'd love to show you something fantastic. And what this does for you, before I start to leave the Power BI part and we move back to the slide to wrap up, the idea of I've never worked in the health sector, so I can't work as a data analyst in the health sector never comes up, because you've seen data. You can bounce this off your colleagues, your contemporaries that work in the health sector. What do you think about this? Okay, even for the age group of less than 1, what would lead to death due to less than 1? Because people actually die that are less than 1, which means they are babies. We can drill down into this. Okay, we can drill down into this. And I think it's something we should just quickly see. All right, I'm just going to add a table. All right, let's add a table very quickly. And let's add cause of death. And let's add the age group. Okay, and let's add the age group. All right, let's add the age group, cause of death and the age group. So we have something like this. Okay, I'm just going to click on age group. So you see all the less than 1s, and you see the causes of death for those that are less than 1. What could have been the reason, or how many people even died that are less than 1? Now, let's add the numbers. So let's add total death. Okay. So out of those that are less than 1, you can see that 1 person died due to alcoholic liver disease. How? 4 people died due to what? Fetal alcohol syndrome, dysmorphic. What does that mean? This simply means babies that are still in the fetal stage in their mother's belly, pregnant women who consume alcohol, and the babies died due to what? Alcohol consumptions from the parents. Okay, so 4 children less than 1 year old died due to that. So there's so many things and so many insights you can still get out of the data that you have. So I'll charge you to what? Go back and try to see as many other insights that you can generate from the data that we have. And this is how you build experience. You can go in the presence of anybody who works in the health sector. Somebody has used this to get a job before, because I've shared this with somebody who was going for an interview with the NHS. They got in there, they talked about this particular project, and that was all she needed to get the job. Because you're not speaking from the point of assumption, you're speaking from the point of what you've done. This is real life data for the UK, all right? So if you've learned something new today, just type in a yes in the chat. If you've learned something new, just type in a yes in the chat. Or you've enjoyed the session, any of the two, you've enjoyed what we've done. It was, okay, yes, Wale, fantastic, brilliant. All right, so let's start to wrap up our session for today. Now, as a data analyst, you're going to work across different sectors. You work across different sectors, and your role is very, very important. Now, the reason why your role is important is you are the one that will be giving recommendations, because you can analyze the data and you can see things that other people cannot see. So you can give them insights and recommendations that this is the path to go based on what the data says. Okay, or we need to get more data to even put our analysis into context. So if we're going to go into England, for example, even though we have 110,000 people dying in England, unfortunately, what's the population? Can we put that into context to see the percentage of the population or the percentage of the young adults that are dying due to alcohol-related issues? And that's where you have the skill, unique skill of analyzing data, interpreting the data, extracting insights from the data to help take data-driven decisions. So you take data that looks like this and you build dashboards that looks like this that people can look at and take decisions, or they can look at and ask more questions, or even answer questions they've always had at the back of their minds. And that's the role of a data analyst. And looking at the scope of what you'll be doing as a data analyst, your scope cuts across two key areas: descriptive and diagnostic analytics. Descriptive analytics, what happened? Diagnostic analytics, why did it happen? All right. So these are the key things you'll be answering, the key questions you'll be answering. What happened? Why did it happen? Now, we did a line chart going back to the Power BI, and this is where BC came in to say, look, between 2019 and 2020, we had the COVID lockdown, all right? People would have gotten depressed, people contracted COVID, mental health issues, and eventually they tend to drink more. And that's why you have the death due to alcohol in the year 2020 spike to its higher, to its, the highest number of deaths. You want to use data to back that assumption. Okay, so you've seen the spike. Was there a major event that happened? So the spike that you can see from the chart, that is what happened. What we've done is called what? Descriptive analytics. What happened? When you now start to answer the question why it happened, you are going into where? Diagnostic analytics. And that's where you're tying your analysis to events that happened. You're tying your analysis by looking at patterns and trends and events that could have taken place during the same time that you are seeing what happened. And that's the role of a data analyst. Why did this happen? What happened and why did it happen? That will be the focus. And in terms of the type of data you'll be working with, you'll be working largely with structured data, data that is in rows and columns. Okay, as a data analyst, you work with data that is structured, which means data that can be fitted into rows and columns. All right, that's the type of data you'll be working with as a data analyst. Just like you saw, the one we worked with, you had year, you had age, and so many other features in the columns. All right, and you had the records in the rows. And of course, you'd work with so many fantastic technologies. Problem solving is number one. I always say this. When the gentleman asked me, how do you come up with the questions? Critical thinking, taking a problem, breaking it down into different statements and so on, and solving those problems one bit by bit until you solve the eventual problem. What approach do I need to take? You learn the CRISP DM framework, which is applicable in every single industry. CRISP DM. What does CRISP DM mean? Cross industry. There's a delay whenever I write. Okay, cross industry standard process for data mining. Cross industry, S is for standard, P is for process, DM is for data mining. So what does it mean? It means you'd understand the approach to solve data related problems irrespective of the industry, which involves the business understanding, data understanding, the data processing, your modeling and analysis, your data preparation, and eventually your presentation and validation. Okay, so the CRISP DM framework itself is a framework you deploy as a data analyst in any industry to solving a data-related project or a data-related problem. All of those things, all of those techniques, you learn them under problem solving. Then you move on to Excel, number 2. Excel is that fundamental tool that gives you that entry into data analytics. You can't call yourself a data analyst without the understanding of Excel. It gives you that background. You know how to use Excel to create dashboards, to analyze, summarize your data using pivot tables, visualizing the data using pivot charts, using advanced functions, the XLOOKUP, the VLOOKUP, the address, the index and match, and all those things to help you answer key questions from the data that you have. And then you move into Power BI. You saw what we did with Power BI today. There is a whole lot more you can do with Power BI and automate your report. Somebody was asking, I saw that in the chat, is there a way we can update? Absolutely. If by next year, you're likely going to have, new data sets added to the Office for the National Statistics. Once you have created your reports the first time inside a folder, all you have to do is take that next data, put it into the folder, refresh your report becomes updated. You can connect your Power BI to a database. As the database is updated, your report and dashboard is also what? Updated. You also get to learn Tableau for data analytics and business intelligence as well. And then you learn SQL, structured query language. As a data analyst or anybody that has anything data in front of their names, data scientist, data engineer, data anything, you can't do anything data without the understanding of SQL, structured query language. You need to know how to interact with databases, even if you would not utilize it eventually, depending on the role you hold. However, as a key player within the data ecosystem, you can't run away from SQL. Then you learn ChatGPT for data analytics, and then Microsoft Fabric for data analytics. ChatGPT, I can't overemphasize how important it is. I've said so many things about ChatGPT over the last couple of weeks. And perhaps before we wrap up the month, I would hold another session. But we've held sessions on how to leverage ChatGPT for data analytics, and they're available on YouTube for free for you guys to go back to watch. ChatGPT is a game changer when it comes to you having the ability to become more efficient as a data analyst, right? When the gentleman asked the question, how do I get insights from my data? How do I know the type of questions to ask? ChatGPT can do that for you. All you have to do is copy the headers of your data, take it into ChatGPT. Hello, ChatGPT, can you give me 10 insights that I can generate from these data sets? And what happens? It gives you 10 insights. And you can even tell it to show you how to analyze those insights using Power BI. And that's the beauty of ChatGPT. So it makes your work a whole lot more efficient. So when your contemporaries, your counterparts are solving or building one report per day, you are building 5 and 10. And everybody wonders, how are you doing this? Okay, and some people have said, oh, data privacy issues. There are ways to go around the data privacy issues, whereby you're not updating sensitive data into ChatGPT, and you create a dummy model or a dummy data that you upload to ChatGPT to give you insights into what to do. All right, and of course, Microsoft Fabric is that tool that you learn. Microsoft Fabric is an all-in-one platform. It's a new technology, designed by Microsoft to have several platforms for data analytics inside one place. So you can create a data lake, you can create a data warehouse, you can build your Power BI dashboards, you can do your analysis, you can write Python codes, you can write SQL queries, all in Microsoft Fabric. Now, the advantage of you learning this is organizations have started to migrate to Fabric, and they find out that you already have the skill to use Microsoft Fabric. So when you're competing with other people out there, you are well ahead of the pack, and that gives you a unique advantage to getting the job. And as a data analyst as well, I've talked about all the skills you would learn. You get to earn fantastic salary in the UK, £40,000 per annum on the average. So most of the time you'd see that you earn a lot higher than this. In Canada, it's about 64,000 Canadian dollars. And in the US, about 72,000 US dollars. How long does it take you to become a data analyst? 4 months of project-based learning. And that's the difference. Okay, so you're not going to learn things by just getting any type of data and just building stuff, arbitrarily. No, you'd work on case studies. Okay, you'd look at the case study. What problem am I trying to solve? How do I approach this problem? Every single class you have, you get to work on projects for 3 months. And then you have 1 month for your internship. And this is where you get to build solutions, simulating a real life work environment. We have Oluwatoyin, like I mentioned earlier. Oluwatoyin, who got a job with the NHS. She's around. She's going to share her experience. She's going to share her story with you, how she was able to transition within a month. I think Toyin is on the call now. Okay, so I'm going to call up on Toyin very shortly, and Toyin would come around. Okay. Somebody said I should leave salary. Why should I leave salary, Josh? The same people that will come back to ask me questions about, oh, in Nigeria, how much are you likely going to earn, and so on. Everybody needs the information, okay? So you have all the information at the tip of your fingers, and then you can do with it what you want to do with it, okay? Now, what's the class schedule like? All right, so once you've learned in a project-based environment for 4 months, 3 months project-based classes, 1 month internship, you get to join classes. Your live classes are on Saturdays. You have different classes on Saturdays, depending on your location. So for those in Nigeria, in the UK, across Europe, similar time zones, your class is from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And in the evenings, for those in the US, in Canada, you can't join a class at 11 a.m. because in Canada, in some regions, 11 a.m. is around 4 a.m., 5 a.m., which is not an ideal time to join a class. So you rather join the evening class from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. if you're in the Eastern time zone eventually. So that gives you, an adequate learning, experience where you join a class that fits into your time zone. And on Sundays are just for watch me do it videos, self-paced classes. You don't have to join in a live class on a Sunday, okay? And of course, just before I bring in Toyin to come share her story with you, there are top reasons why people don't get jobs. A lot of people have seen them, so many of them, okay? They have the technical skill, but they don't get the job. And part of the reason is because they don't know how to apply to jobs. They apply to just data analyst roles because they have learned data analytics. What about business intelligence analyst? The only difference between a data analyst and a business intelligence analyst is the BI analyst is focused on Power BI, SQL, and data warehouse. I'm actually typing. I don't know why there is a delay in what I type. So that's just the difference between the two roles. A BI analyst is only focused on Power BI, SQL, and data warehousing. The data analyst knows Power BI, knows SQL, understands the data warehouse, knows Excel, knows ChatGPT, knows Microsoft Fabric. So why can't you apply to jobs as a BI analyst, as a sales analyst, supply chain analyst, product analyst, and so many roles? Oluwatoyin that's going to come speak with you, who joined our data analytics program, she got a job as a benefits analyst, all right? So she's going to tell us what she does as a benefits analyst, all right? Analyzing data within the NHS here in the UK. So how to apply to jobs, ensuring that you can expand your reach when looking for jobs and searching for jobs is also very important. And of course, a lot of people lack the required skill because they don't have a structured learning approach. I have done it before, and I'll tell you, YouTube is one of the worst places you can learn for somebody trying to get a job anywhere in the UK, in the US, in Canada, even in Nigeria. Is the worst place you can learn because there is no structured learning approach. When you hit a stumbling block, there is nobody for you to go back to say, hey, how do I solve this? What do I do? How do I apply to jobs? Where do I apply to jobs? I have an interview. How do I prepare for the interview? Okay, so you don't have the required skill, no proof of work. You said you know how to do all of these things using Excel, Power BI. Show me your portfolio. Show me the projects you have worked on. Can you present your projects to me? Lastly, no work experience and no interviewing skills. This is what kills a lot of people in getting jobs. Interviewing skills, zero. Interviewing skills is what? Zero. So you ask very simple questions like introduce yourself, and they stumble, they struggle, they say this, they say that without actually saying anything. All right. So how do we then bring all of this together to ensure that you're able to transition successfully? And that's where Tenalytics comes in. So apart from the technical skill you learn, you also get to learn in and using an updated curriculum. Okay, what are the new trends in the industry? How do I leverage new technologies like ChatGPT and so on? You work with industry experts. You have a blended learning approach where you are not learning every day. You are learning only on Saturdays, your live class. And then you have the Watch Me Do It videos, which are the bite-sized videos that you watch at your own convenience every single Sunday, and you learn concepts on your own. And then the additional employability services. This is what has made us super successful as a business, helping people to transition. And of course, you get to join our internship. And I'm going to speak about this in the next slide, but I want Oluwatoyin to come share her experience with us and how she was able to do it. Join the program, get a job in the UK as a benefits analyst. Okay, Oluwatoyin, I think I can see you there. If you can just put on your video so we can see you, Oluwatoyin. I'm sure I'm meeting you for the first time, Oluwatoyin, but I have told your story so many times that I feel I know you personally. All right, good to have you, Oluwatoyin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I hope you can hear me though.
Oh yes, we can hear you loud and clear. So we want you to tell us your experience, okay? How you got your job. And for those that are also trying to switch and get into the space, what would be your advice to them in terms of joining the program? So just share your experience, really.
Okay. John told me I have 5 minutes. For someone that likes to talk too much, I'll try to make it as brief as possible. Hello, everyone. I joined Tenalytics in August, a couple of months ago. And before I joined, I'd listened to a number of boot camps, specific to the UK, and I listened to about 3 or 4, I think 4 in total. And then I listened to their master classes, just trying to convince those that are interested and all that. And I personally wanted value for my money because I wanted something that I could do and get the best of it. So I listened to Efemena, and I knew it resonated with me. I knew this was for me. So I paid right away, I joined. And I must tell you that if there is anything I will say to you, like from what I gained so far, it's been a life-changing experience because I'm still on the program. I'm not done. I think I finished maybe next month. Yeah, so it's been a life-changing experience for me, from classes on Saturdays, Saturday classes, and then to mentorship sessions, to drop-ins where you can ask questions. Everything has been so fruitful. I will jump right into my interview process. It's quite difficult to even get interviewed. I'm sure if you've been applying for jobs, you will know how difficult it's been so far. Tenalytics would put you through on how to position yourself right to be interviewed, to even be called for the interview. They'll put you through on how to have a right CV, right? They will put you through on how to even go about the interview process. They would prepare you for the interview, which was an opportunity that I had. And when I got into the interview, it was almost like a case of preparation meets opportunity, if that makes any sense, because every single thing that was asked in terms of like the case scenario questions, everything, I could resonate with it because I'd done it multiple times, you know, in class, doing projects in just 1 month. I joined in August. I got the invite for the interview in September. I could just resonate with it. I did it and I could not finish. I could not finish. I had just one question left to go. But then I just left it. It was due to time. Went in for the other process, you know, I had to do like a presentation, then asking me a lot of behavioral questions, applying the STAR approach, SIT approach, and all of those things. Now, all of this information I didn't know before. I got them from Tenalytics because I've come from a pharmacy background. I know nothing about data analysis, right? So every information I was from Tenalytics, and I've started the job now. 2 days ago, my manager said to me, the team lead, he said, I just want to tell you that interview process was highly competitive because we interviewed 150 people and we were sure that you were the one that we wanted. And it sort of laid emphasis on the fact that, you know, expectations are quite high from what they expect from me, you know. And when I think back, I'm just wondering and laughing because I don't really know anything. I just know what I've been taught from Tenalytics, to be honest. So in fact, when I got the job, and he called me, he said to me, congratulations, we're offering you the job. We want to know if you're going to accept it or you're going to think about it. As a proper Naija babe, I said, what? I have accepted the role. Thank you very much, you know. And he said to me that as part of their interview process, they normally give feedbacks. And I said, okay, I was open to listening. And he said, because there were 4 panelists, and he said, we were all just very impressed by your confidence, the way with which you presented, the clarity and all that. He emphasized on my confidence. And I think that's where Tenalytics came into place, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because just like you, I was going to, like, you know, you watch YouTube videos, you do a couple of other things just to position yourself right. But with Tenalytics, they will infuse the right knowledge such that when you even work on certain projects on a weekly basis, you begin to see yourself as a data analyst. And that reflects in how you communicate, if you get what I mean. So at some point, I was saying a lot of things. I'd even forgotten that, okay, babe, you were once a pharmacist, you get, because this was as a result of things that I had learned, right? So he said that to me, and he even made excuses for why I did not finish my case scenario questions. He said, we believe that is due to maybe time constraints and all that, right? So all of these things I got from Tenalytics. My advice to you is, this is one platform that will give you everything that you need in terms of the skill. They would not just leave you, they would just give you the skill and leave you to whatever fate that you have. They would help you to position yourself right for interviews. They will help you get interviews. They will help you, you know, even prepare well for those interviews, if that makes any sense. So I think if you're still wondering whether or not to join, I don't know these people personally, to be honest. This is the first time I'm even like speaking to Adiza. I don't, you know, have any relationship beyond what it is right now. I think if you're still having that doubt and if you want to get the best of your money and you want to get the best, you want to see results as soon as possible, I believe that Tenalytics is the best platform to join if you are considering other ones, but Tenalytics is the best. Don't even look any further because they have one of the best, they have the best people. From Mohammed will teach you like a child. You can ask, sometimes I wonder how he even does it, because he would answer the same question like 5 times. Mohammed will teach you the best. Adiza's, you know, watch me do his video, if I mean everything helpful, Joanne, you know, even the problem solving class, everything, you will get the best. I think I'm just gonna take my leave at this point. So yeah, so that's just it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tony, for coming around. You're joining us from the UK, correct?
Yes.
Absolutely. So like I said, I've told your story. Let me show you your picture on our slide, because I'm not sure you've seen the picture, but we have your picture on our slide. We use it to brag. Let me put it that way. So that's why, like I said, even though we are meeting for the first time, I've talked about you so many times, of course, to help other people transition. So for those of you who would have joined our masterclass before, definitely you've heard about Tony's story. And I'm just going to show you. That's Tony. Tony, do you remember this video?
Yeah, I saw your Instagram.
Thank you very much, Tony, for coming around. We deeply appreciate you coming to share your experience and, of course, the value you got from the program as well. We deeply appreciate your time. Okay, so that's Tony. Of course, some of you would have seen Tony's video on Instagram, on LinkedIn. She got a job with the NHS and she's doing an absolute phenomenal work. You heard from her herself, from the interview process and the way she was able to navigate her way. And there's so many others, just like Tony. You have Ikmat, you have Benga, you have Ramat, and so many other people. All right. You work with the best professionals. You've heard it already, so I'm not just going to go back to rehash what Tony has said already. You're going to work with myself. You're going to work with Efemena. You work with Tony. You work with Mohammed. Mohammed was the facilitator for their program and worked with her during her interview. You work with Oladapo, who the Excel, you're watching me doing videos. You have Oladapo. You work with Olugbemi Akarigo, who is a business data analyst in Canada, Edmonton, Canada. Edmonton, Alberta. You work with Olugbemi as well. And of course, you work with other professionals across the space that will help you make the switch and transition into your data analytics journey. You can be the next Tony or the next Ramat or the next Ikmat or Benga and so many other people that have joined and also made the switch. I'm going to take questions before we wrap up. But just to wrap up, we have the next cohort starting on the 4th of November. And that's the last cohort for the year. We had a cohort in August from January up until the last cohort that would start in November. Tony joined the August cohort and she started a job already within just a month after joining. She had her first interview and somebody asked me the question that, how do people get jobs during the training? How is that possible? You haven't completed 4 months. And like Tony said, she's still, undergoing the program. I'll probably wrap up around December. And that's one thing we always do. And Tony can allude to that too. The moment you complete your Excel, you have even before you even have your CV done, but most of the time, once you have your CV done, we tell you to start to apply to jobs. All right. And because we have that, we already have that inbuilt in us that I'm not sure I'm good enough. We always have that feeling. It's called the imposter syndrome. Okay, I've never done this before and I've learned for just a month. Am I good enough to get the job? Until you actually go for that interview and see that the questions they're asking you are the things you've done already in class. You can start to leverage that to answer questions because you have somebody to work with you to prepare you for your interviews. You know the right things to say when you get into the interview. We have interview simulation sessions where we simulate people come on the call, they answer questions based on a job they've applied to, and we give them feedback instantly. What that does for you is to build your confidence, just like Oluwatoyin said. So when you get in the front of those recruiters and you're talking about your experience, they can see through your confidence and see that, okay, you're somebody. If there's one thing you can do, if you're in the UK, most especially, or in Canada, you have to be confident. That's one thing they want to see. They'll see that first of all before they start going into your technical skill and looking at your competency within the area they're trying to recruit you for. Okay, so 4th of November, that's the next cohort. It will be an amazing place for you to start. And once you receive the slide, please guys, take out time and listen to this fantastic people's story, Ikmat's, Benga's story, Ramat's, and so on and so forth. So how much does it take to be a part of the program? You've heard Oluwatoyin, you all said, wow, fantastic, congratulations. How did Oluwatoyin get started? To get started, £400, if you're paying in pounds, If you're paying in Naira, it's 400,000 Naira to be a part of the program. If you're paying in Canadian dollars, it's 600 Canadian dollars. However, like I said at the beginning, we have a discount we have running until the 1st of November. At the end of, after the 1st of November, the discount and registration closes completely. So what's the discount? Instead of paying £400, all you have to pay is £300 to be a part of the class. And you can also make payments in 2 installments of £200 to get registered and £100 1 month after the program commences. And if you're paying in Naira, it's 300,000 Naira, 200,000 to get registered and 100,000 1 month after the program starts. And if you're paying in Canadian dollars, 500 Canadian dollars, 350 to start, 150 1 month after the program commences. So for some of you that have joined 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 masterclasses in the month of October, I think this is the time for you to be a part of the November cohort starting on the 4th of November. All right, so how do I make payments? How do I join the class? That's the next question. And all you have to do is to make payments using the link that you have on the slide. And I'm going to show you how very quickly before I start taking questions. So once you click on this link, it takes you to the page where you can make payments. All right, and I'm just going to click on that now. And I'll show you how to register to be a part of the program. So once you click on the link, it takes you to the enrollment page, and then you can make payments using different options. Okay, I'll just wait for it to come up. It's still loading. You can make payments using different options from Paystack to PayPal to a direct transfer, depending on how you'd like to pay. Okay, so it's coming up now. And obviously you have the different links here. So let's assume you are somewhere in Ghana, you are in Nigeria, you want to make payments using your Naira card, or if you're in Ghana, you also make payments using the Paystack option. We always advise this because it does the conversion for you automatically. And that's the most preferred options for the Ghanaians. It's easier, it's seamless. You don't have to, bother about other channels. Just make payments using Paystack. And all you have to do is click on the link and it takes you to the Paystack page. Select data analytics, click on that, and you can then select to make the full payment or part payment. So if I click on this, I can select full payment, one-time payment of 300,000, or I can select the part payment of 200,000 and pay the balance of 100,000 later. Okay. You can also make payments using PayPal. You're somewhere in Europe, or you want to make payments from the US. All you have to do is use the PayPal option. So you can either pay the full payment or the part payment. Okay, you click on that. It takes you, this is the part payment, takes you to the PayPal option. You click on buy now, click on PayPal, select credit or debit card option, and then you get to make payments. Okay, and of course, you can also do a direct transfer as well to our UK bank account, all right, or to the Naira bank account, which is a Fidelity bank account. Now, it's important that when you make payments, you take a screenshot of your proof of payment, and then you upload your proof of payment still using the same enrollment link. You'd see the option that says upload initial and full receipts. Click on that. It takes you into the form, and then you fill the form, your email, your first name, your last name, and you see the option where you'd upload your proof of payment. Another major question that we always get, which I'll just quickly answer, is I'm going to be busy in November. I'm not sure I'll be able to start because I have other commitments already planned out for November. How can you still be a part of this, especially taking advantage of the discounts? You can defer your program to January. We have another cohort starting on the 6th of January. So you can defer your class. Instead of starting on the 4th of November, you defer the class to the 6th of January. But the advantage for you is you secure the discount slots. Okay, so that's the fantastic part for you. All right. So I'm going to take questions, and while we do that, I'll show you what the platform looks like. I'll show you Oluwatoyin's class specifically, the class she joined. The class is currently undergoing, and you see the type of project and how far they've gone so far. All right. And of course, for those of you who want to take advantage of the discount and perhaps make payments through a direct transfer, all you have to do is take a screenshot of this page, and that gives you easy access. Or you can also reach us on any of our numbers that you have on the screen. Okay, so let's ask. Somebody is saying, and this is where, when you talk about limitations, why people don't get into the space, one key limitation is we always feel that the person that got the job has something special. Oluwatoyin, I don't know if you are still on the call, so let's take this question. All right. Did anybody ask you do you have a master's degree? Do you have a certificate? Do you have a certification? Did that come up at any point in the interview? I'm not sure if you're still there, because that's one thing people ask. But when I tell them that, look, things like that don't matter. Nobody cares about your master's. Nobody would ever, the master's, you take it and put it in your pocket. Okay, you take it and put it in your pocket. Nobody cares. All right. So Oluwatoyin has answered your question, Stanley. Okay, I think Oluwatoyin has provided an answer to your question. As I mentioned earlier, I received the feedback on the interview process. I was hired primarily because of my strong analytical skills, confidence, and clear presentation. Okay, nobody asked you for if you have a certificate. Who is the certification body? That's the question I always ask. And the best way for you to check, go out there yourself, go on a website, go to Indeed, go to Total Jobs and search, go to Glassdoor, go to read.co.uk, go to different job boards, search for the job role and look at the requirements. And from there, you can tell. You don't need anybody to tell you what the case is. All right. Registration ends on Wednesday, like I said. And once you receive the slide, take out time and listen to the fantastic story. That's Toyin. On the page, we're super proud of Toyin's achievements. And we're always going to sing her praises and her achievements as much as we can. All right. I'm going to take questions before we call it a day. Okay, this is Sunday. Sunday also got a job as a regulatory data analyst. And that's the interesting part. You get to see some job roles that you've never seen before. Regulatory data analyst, benefits analyst, pathology data analyst. That was one of the latest ones I saw that was a bit shocked. Pathology data analyst, somebody who finished from our program, got a job as a pathology data analyst. All right, I'm going to take questions very quickly, and then we can wrap up in, say, the next 8 minutes. So if you have questions, please use the raised or the hand raised icon, and I would ask you to unmute yourself. So I can see Femi. Femi, please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you very much. For me, it wasn't really difficult to take a decision of joining the program. If I had not joined, it would mean for financial reasons, not for whether it's difficult to decide. However, I chose the business analyst option because it resonates with my past experience and everything. But to be honest, I have been following from the very first time I listened in, I think it was a boot camp before all the master classes. Other programs are so enticing. So I missed out the one-on-one to explain what do I need to think or what kind of analysis do I need to make to know which program. To be honest, I love business analysts, but each time I listen to different masterclass, I'll be asking if I'm actually missing out or something. So please, is there any problem with my brain that is making me think that other programs are better than the one I prefer or something, because now it's sometimes confusing. Look at this masterclass this evening. It's making business analysts look better than business analysts for me, yet I love business analysts. So please help me if you can.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's an interesting position to actually find yourself, Femi, and it's totally normal. I'll tell you for a fact. And since you missed the previous one-on-one session, we have another one coming up on Tuesday. Okay, so I think Tuesday is on the 31st, if I'm correct. So we have another clarity session, one-on-one session on Tuesday. So you can join that, all right? And would help you, navigate the space. But one thing I've seen is for all the programs we offer, there are three things that are common across all the programs. The first one is they're easy to learn. The second is easy to transition. And when I say easy to learn, I mean they're all beginner friendly. You don't need any experience, any degree, any prior knowledge to join the program, all right? They're easy to transition and get a job, meaning that the demand for the jobs are there, okay? And the last is they have high remuneration, high rewarding salaries eventually. So they all the programs have these common features attached to them. And it's very easy to see. Once I believe if you join the data science masterclass, oh, data science is the way to go, I have to join this. And that's simply because of the quality of the work you do. And for somebody who likes to do work where you'd be at the forefront of innovation, at the forefront of, giving recommendations, definitely all these different career paths would entice you. But join us for the free one-on-one session on Tuesday, the clarity session, and it would help you if you need to make a decision. But since you have interest in business analysis, trust me, go for it. The moment we do a masterclass for business analysis, and you see some of the things you can also do with regards to the analysis you would carry out, that would give you, that would give you that rest of mind that you've not chosen the wrong career path. But if you want to have a conversation, no problems, no worries. Join us on Tuesday. Once you receive the recording and the slides for today's session, you'd also have a link for you to indicate that you want a one-on-one session, and would organize that for you. So on Tuesdays, we usually have 2 sessions for the one-on-one, one at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, the other one at 11 p.m. in the evening. So it's flexible enough for you to join any of them. Okay. Olusegun is saying, I must appreciate your delivery, Adeza. You're making this journey simple, though I understand it to be hard at times. Absolutely. The thing is, once you start learning something newly for the first time, you'd have a patch. You start with that enthusiasm and all the drive you get into it, you start doing it, you get to areas where it becomes a bit complex. But trust me, all you have to do is just to keep on going. You'll never get everything 100%. It's not possible. And one of the things that has also made our participants get jobs, get interviews, is we tell you that, look, you don't have to meet all the requirements to apply to a job. You meet 70%, 75%, go ahead and apply. And trust me, most of the time, what you know is more than enough. And I'll say it again for the opt-in time. No recruiter would ask you for a certification. No recruiter would ask you for a master's. If you mention it during your interview, it's a nice to have. It's not a requirement. It's a nice to have, not a requirement. Okay. And you always have the skills at the end of the day, but you just feel that imposter syndrome in you, like, I've just learned this for 3 months, for 4 months. Am I really good enough to get a job working with a large multinational organization? Is it possible? Can I do that? And trust me, all you have to do is give it a try. And then you'd see your success story would also be similar to Oluwatoyin. Joined in August, got a job in September. Ikmat joined in April, got a job in September or August, if I'm correct, within a few months. All right. And I'll show you the platform, and then we'll start to call it a day. So while I try to show you the platform, I'm going to take one more question from or two more questions from Ima Nwogugu. Ima, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Please go ahead and ask your question. And then I'll take the last question from Olusegun, and then we wrap it up for today.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Ima. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm from Port Harcourt, Nigeria. I want to persuade that I'm so serious to commence this program for this November 4th. But I have a pleading that I will send my contact to you that if you want to talk, I can. It says 200,000 naira is initial first payments, and subsequent one will pay the 100,000. I want to plead that if you are able to make payments 150,000, and within few months, we'll still make the balance of 150,000. I've been following you series of your programs. I was supposed to make the payments for full payment, but I have some struck somewhere. So I'm so persuaded if I can put it to consideration so that I will follow this November cohort.
All right. Very good question, Ima. So all you have to do, okay, my colleague on the call, Joan, would take note of that. But then again, I'm just going to share the other screen. So for the other somebody asking, I think the other gentleman, Young or lady, asking who do I contact or whom do I contact? You can see the screen. Just give me 1 second, please. Whoops. Okay, so just, Joan, can you see my screen? Just confirm you can see my screen, please.
Yes, sir.
All right. So just take a screenshot of this page. You can see the numbers +234 9029 850 839 +44 7448 034 093. Just send us a message. Somebody will respond to you. Okay, anytime, send us a message anytime, and somebody would respond to you. So that's how you contact us or reach out to us easily. That's the easiest way to get across to us. If you have any questions or you want to schedule a session, you want to have a one-on-one, although the link for the one-on-one will be shared to you in your emails, okay? So let's go back to the classroom. I just quickly want to show you that. So Ima, just send us a message, okay? Joan would also take note of it, but just send us a message and we would organize that for you, Ima. All you have to do is send us a message so we see that you are serious. You want to make the payments in two batches or one installment, the other installment. We can make that arrangement for you. Just send us a message and we'll sort that out for you. All right. Now let's look at Oluwatoyin's class. Like I said, I was going to show you. So I can see all the classes here because, of course, I'm in all the classes, but you only get to see the class that you pay for. Toyin's in the August Data Analytics EU 2308. That's the August class. And I'm just going to go there very quickly. All right. So if I go to classwork, you'd see when the class started. I'll scroll all the way to the bottom. All right. So this is the classroom, the same one Toyin joined, and she's currently still learning. So they started their very first class. I think that was on the 5th of August, if I'm correct. So you have the onboarding materials that contains all the things you need to get your class started. Your welcome kits, how to navigate the Google Classroom. You're going to have an onboarding session with Joan. Joan is the data associate for the data analytics program, so should help you navigate your way around. And then you have your first problem solving class. Another question people ask is, do I miss a thing if I miss a class? And the answer is no. You have the class recording, the login details to join the class, obviously. And then you have the slides that was used during the session. So you can always come back here, access all the slides. This was the facilitator for problem solving. Her name is Nene. Nene has worked with Denom, KPMG, Bank of America here in the UK, Loros Development Partners, and she's a strategic planning professional. She currently works as a senior financial planning and analytics professional with Zelos in the UK. Zelos is an authorized licensee of Nike. And this is your problem solving class. What is data? That's where you start from, right from the background and the nitty gritty. Okay. And of course, if you miss the class for any reason, you have the recording. All you have to do is come back here, watch the recording, and this gives you access to everything that happened while you were away if you missed the class. All right, I'm just going to click on play. I'll leave it to load for a bit and I'll come back here. Okay, so that's the recording. This is Excel. You have your very first Excel class, the Watch Me Do It videos, the same one Oluwatoyin got to watch. You have your mentorship session, the first mentorship session the week after you start your class during the weekend. You have subsequent mentorship sessions, the recordings. Okay, you have the first Excel live class. Okay, and like I mentioned, you get to work on projects. If I click on this, you'd see the project they solved on the very first Excel class. Okay, so it's a case study based way of learning where you get to work on projects to apply everything you've learned on Sunday in the Watch Me Do It videos. You get to implement them in a live class the following weekend on Saturday. So Saturdays are live classes, project-based. Your second Excel Watch Me Do It videos, your second Excel live class. Also, you have the projects you worked on, the case studies on during the second class as well. Okay, so you have your task and what you're expected to do. So here you're going to use the VLOOKUP, index and match, XLOOKUP, COUNTIF, SUMIF, if and. Okay, and of course, all the way from Excel, you have your CV templates that's going to be provided to you for you to start working on your CV. All right, and if you notice, class started on the 5th rather of August. By August 17th, 12 days after, you're having your CV templates for you to start working on your CV. And this is why it is faster for you to have a good CV. You start to apply to jobs and you start to get interviews, just like Oluwatoyin did, and she landed her role eventually. You have your third mentorship session, your last Excel Watch Me Do It video. You have assignments. We have sessions on immigration pathways for tech professionals. All right, where we bring in experts that come to talk to you about options available within the different countries and how you can take advantage of the opportunities as well. You have your LinkedIn optimization session, help you optimize your LinkedIn profile. Your last Excel class 3, where you'll be building a dashboard, and then you move into Power BI. So you can see all the things that your Power BI class 3, all the things Oluwatoyin has done. This is Oluwatoyin's class all the way. You have everything here. So if Oluwatoyin comes back to access any of the material, she has access to them. You see where you create your website portfolio. You'll need to have a portfolio that warehouses all the projects you worked on. So creating your website portfolio, your SQL, SQL class, you start with this. You can see the ChatGPT prompts for your SQL class, how to leverage AI for learning, to master SQL, all right? So these are the things you do. You don't just learn SQL, you learn how to embed AI and generative AI and large language models like ChatGPT to help you do that. Okay, this is the mock interview session I talked about earlier, all right? Interview simulation. I wish I could play this for you, but we don't have all the time to do that. Okay, and SQL class is done. Tableau class 1, Watch Me Do It. Live class for Tableau. Of course, all project-based. Let's look at this particular project they're currently working on at the moment. They're working for ACE Technology Solutions for a HR attrition tracker. Okay, so you are building solutions for companies. You're not just building solutions or solving problems by watching videos, no. All right, so first Tableau class, second Tableau Watch Me Do It. And we have something called the drop-in sessions, where if you miss a class and you watch the recording and you still don't get what was done in class, you can go back to the recording and you still don't get what was done. You schedule a drop-in session during the week in the evening. You jump on the drop-in session and somebody helps you address the challenge that you have. So you're not stuck without moving on to the next stage. Okay, so you have the link to book an interview preparation session as well. You come here, click on the link. click on the link here and you book your interview preparation session. Okay, so this is what the classroom looks like. I'm going to take one more question from Olusegun and would say good night. So we need to go and enjoy the rest of the Friday. So Olusegun, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Please go ahead if you have any questions.
Oh yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. I think you kind of, already made an allusion to what I was going to ask. You opening up the classroom now, because I was actually going to write on, the question the previous man said, asked you. I was going to ask if, for slow learners, so to say, not really slow learners, we all have our lives anyway. And for some of us who are actually transitioning, switching to this path, at times, like, for instance, I took a course a few months ago, and unfortunately I was away in a very remote area in Nigeria, so I couldn't participate. So I'm trying to say, so if you have the duration for the cohort, and then the person is not able to finish it off, or they are not able to actually, you feel they're not ready, or they feel they've not really learned enough. I was going to ask if you're still going to retain them, while maybe something that doesn't necessarily push them into the next cohort. But I think you already answered my question with what you open now, the drop-in sessions and all that. And secondly, is there a way of you guys, evaluating the mental readiness of students? It's okay for people to actually want to start looking for jobs, and all that. Is there a way? Of course, I think I've seen the mentorship sessions here, but is there a way you guys, kind of rate? Okay, I think you are ready to actually apply for jobs, but you are not ready. Is there a way you guys get that done, and then you kind of, in a very subtle way, prevail on your students not to be in a rush, to go into the market? Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the question, Olusegun. So you don't want to waste any time. Trust me. You don't want to waste any time. And one of the first shocks you get when you join is after 3 weeks, we start to tell you to apply to jobs. That's one of the first shocks you'd get. What? Just 3 weeks? Can I actually get a job after just 3 weeks? But absolutely. All right. And I'll give you a typical scenario of two people. And I've told this story so many times. The first person got a job as a people operations analyst. He joined not the data analytics program, the HR analytics. And after 3 weeks, you complete your Excel class. And for a lot of organizations, Excel will pretty much do the job that you would have to do for them in their organization. All right. Now, the job he was in Nigeria, in Lagos. He got a job in Chicago, Illinois, in the US. And his entire assessment was on Excel, and he had completed Excel. It was still fresh in his head. His VLOOKUP, his XLOOKUP, everything was still very fresh in his head. And he didn't even need an interview preparation. He let us know that he had an interview, told us he came back from the interview. How did he go? He showed us the case study. They wanted him to present what he had done using Excel with regards to people-related data, and he presented it. And that was all he needed. And he got the job. He's moved to a more senior role today. That was he got the job. He joined in October 2022, got the job in December 2022, and he's already moved to a new role again. So in terms of you'll be ready after 3 weeks, we're going to push you to be ready. And we're not going to encourage you or indulge you to be slow in any way. No organization would wait for you. People are getting the job, so why wait? You've joined the classes, you've learned. What you learn is more than enough. I'd emphasize it and re-emphasize. It is more than enough for you to get a job anywhere across the globe, okay? So the mentality of feeling inadequate to get the job is something we kill immediately once you join the program. And from the interview prep you get, from us. The worst thing that would happen is you go for that interview. Out of 5 questions, you answer maybe 3 convincingly. The other 2, you just said whatever came to your head. You leave there, you probably might not get the job, but what's the worst thing? You know what questions that will be asked. The worst thing you get is no, you're not getting the job. But then that adds to your interview experience, because interview itself is an experience. While I was still, looking for jobs and searching for jobs so many years back in my career, I actually attended in different interview sessions, not because I was looking for a job. I was never looking for a job, but I attended that interview and several other interviews to boost my experience and also get that confidence when I eventually attend more interviews. I remember one specifically for a fintech company I attended, and I was so confident because I knew I wasn't looking for a job. So, I mean, the nerves were not there. And when we finished the first stage, second stage, we're in the final stage, we're talking about salary. And I was confident to ask for, I think, 2.5x what I was currently earning. And they were considering giving me that, unbelievable salary. And I was able to ask those questions because I knew worst case, they tell me no, I go back to my previous job and I'm really not losing anything eventually. And that just shows you that, look, most of the time we just get nervous unnecessarily, and there are ways for you to overcome the nerves, which is preparation. All right, preparation is everything, and we help you prepare. We show you how to answer questions, how to introduce yourself, competency-based questions using the SEAT approach, the STAR approach, and so on and so forth. Okay, so your assessment is from the interview. You have one interview session, and we see that you're not ready. The next 24 hours, you'd be ready because we know what you'd have to do. We tell you what you need to go and do. You come back, and you want to embarrass yourself to come back and tell us that you're not ready, because we're going to ask you those questions before you meet your potential recruiters or your potential employers. Okay, so Olusegun, that's the approach we take. Okay, it's a and that's why I came to this slide. So from your CV to your LinkedIn to Upwork for you to apply to remote jobs, to navigating the job market, understanding where you are. You're in the UK, you're in Canada, you're in Nigeria, you're somewhere in Europe. What are the opportunities available? Recommendation and references, interview preparation, weekly mentorship sessions, and on-the-job support. So Oluwatoyin maybe she has something that she needs help with today. She can reach out to us anytime, and we'll make that time available for her to help address any issues she has on her current job. Oh, I've seen this analysis, I've never seen it before. How do I go about it? There's somebody that will help us sort it out. Okay, so that's on the job support as well. So these are the things that actually get you the job, not how good you are with Excel or how good you are with Power BI. It's a given. Every company expects that. You are coming for a data analyst job, your Excel, top-notch, Power BI, SQL, Tableau, and all those things. Technically, you must be sound. The other aspect is this 50% we don't talk about so much. All right? This is your concern. For people that, the gentleman that was talking about certificates, that's none of your business. This is your business here. This is what gets you the job. The other 50%, how good is your CV? Are you using one CV to apply to 100 jobs? Do you know how to tailor your CV to jobs? I took the session on tailoring CVs and matching your CV to job requirements. We leveraged AI to do that. We leveraged ChatGPT to what? Tailor your CV to job descriptions. How do you get more success rates when you apply to a job to get called for an interview? Because the moment you get called for an interview, that's one leg in the door. All right. So all these things here from 1 to 6 and your weekly mentorship and on-the-job support, this is what gets you the job. And you heard Oluwatoyin emphasize on that so many times. All right. And this is what has made us successful as a business, helping people transition. Okay. I hope I answered your question, Oluwasegun or Olusegun. Okay. We're going to call it a day at this point because of time. Yeah, we're going to call it a day at this point. And I want to say a big thank you to those that joined. You are still sharing. Oh, I was still sharing something else. Sorry about that. Let me go back to the slide I intended to share, which is this one. Okay, so this is what I was talking about when I was speaking. CV review, LinkedIn optimization, Upwork, navigating the job markets, reference and recommendation, interview preparation, weekly mentorship session, and on-the-job support. Okay. All right. So guys, please go back. What we did today using Power BI, attempt it. Attempt it. It always seems impossible until somebody gets it done. Initially, let me tell you something very quickly as we wrap up. You can't learn data analytics in 4 months. It's impossible. You can't learn data analytics and get a job in 4 months. People are getting jobs in 1 month, in 2 months, not even 4 months. They are doing the training and they get a job. Let me show you one lady very quickly. I hope I have a picture here, but she joined the data science program, not data analytics. Okay, yes, I have it here. Her name is Ebube. Ebube also works with the NHS as a data scientist. She was still doing her training, first proper job in the UK after Tenalytics training. She was still on the training because see, the first message she sent here was, I'll start going through the last class by the weekend. I might not be able to submit the project this Sunday. That was what she sent to our class coordinator. She was still working on her project while she got the job with the NHS. Okay, so it's all about knowing what to look out for, knowing how to apply to the jobs, and what you should concern yourself about, and not irrelevancies that would really not give you an edge eventually. So take our time, look at the slides, follow us across all our platforms. John just sent them: Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, Facebook, Twitter, or X. Follow us and see the amazing stuff we are doing across the space. I want to say a very big thank you to everybody that has stayed from now till the end of the session. We'll have a one-on-one session for those of you that would want to ask more personalized questions. Will be available for you. So once you receive the slides in your email or your WhatsApp group, you'd also receive the link for you to indicate that you want a one-on-one session. Have a wonderful weekend ahead. And I hope to see you guys in class on the 4th of November, or share this with a colleague, share it with a friend, share it with somebody that you think can benefit from this. Have an amazing time, guys. Until we see in another session. Cheers, everybody.